Good evening, everyone. It's October 10th, 2012. This is the Missoula Design Review Board. First on the agenda, can we have a call to order? That's this, and then a roll call.
Sheena
Here.
Ron Johnson, Dennis Lippert,
Here.
Bill Narrison,
Here.
Tyler Hansen,
Here.
Kate Lickfin, Matt Loomis,
Here.
Tracy O'Reilly. Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. How about approval of minutes from the June 13th meeting? Do I have a motion to approve or any changes or corrections or additions for those minutes? Would anyone like to approve those? Was anybody here?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Anybody like to second that?
I will second.
Thank you. Any objections? No?
No.
Okay, vocal ayes? Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Fantastic. Okay, how about communications from staff?
Thank you. This is Anna Aronofsky from OPG. But for the next meeting, there are no agenda items in November, so I guess there will not be a meeting in November. Then you already probably saw that there are some pages, replacement pages for Title 20. They were left on your chairs, on your, and I just wanted to call out the attention to the changes. The changes were recently approved by City Council, and they are changes to the non-conforming chapter and to the measuring and exceptions chapter. And one of the, what will interest you especially, is that the Design Review Board has been charged with a new duty. And this new duty is that when there are expansions to non-conforming houses, residences that are too close to the property line, to the neighbor's property line, if the Design Review Board will take a look at these expansions and review whether they are appropriate or not. That is, the citation for that is on 2080-030, non-conforming structures, subsection C, alterations and expansions, number 2B. And it says, expansion of structures closer to the property line than 3 feet or closer than 5 feet in zones R54, RT54, R8, and RT10, and horizontal expansions exceeding 16 feet require Design Review Board approval. So you may see some new kind of projects coming in front of you for decision. The other important changes that I consider important changes are in the non-conforming uses section. In the loss of non-conforming status, there is a special section now that residential uses or densities are never lost and may be continued after being abandoned for any length of time. Before, it was that after 2 years of abandonment of a duplex, for instance, of a non-conforming duplex, you would lose that density in a single-family residential. And so those are some of the very important things. In the measurements and exceptions, they got rid of the section that said that if you had a legal non-conforming side or rear setback, you could continue that. And that was replaced with specific rules of how much you can continue them, and that's where the DRB comes to play a role now for side property lines, for closed side property lines. So I don't know if you have any questions. After you read this, please, you can call any of us to the office and we can explain. And
Thank you, Anna.
you're welcome.
I'm sure we all needed more stuff to read, so,
Yes, you
Yeah.
do.
that's good.
Anna, can we assume that that's been updated on your online website?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. All the books, now including yours, and the online is being updated.
Okay, is there any public comment not having to do with anything on the agenda today? Seeing none. We'll move on to the public hearing, the request for a sign package at 216 West Main Street, the Studebaker Building. And I'd like to invite the applicant up, but before that, I kind of wanted just to mention to my cohorts here, and I kind of wish Ron Johnson were here because he'd back me up. I'm a little disappointed, I guess, in the in the detail of the packet. It's pretty straightforward, the application. I just feel like it's lacking compared to past ones we've got. Maybe it's that we only have a meeting every 4 months, and so I don't have a lot to compare it to, but I'm kind of curious what you all think, if you think that this is, I know staff approved it, and moved it on to us, but I just kind of feel like it's not, there's a lot of guesswork on our end, on our end, and I didn't know if anybody had any comments about that.
I was just curious about the colors in the photographs. I
Okay.
wasn't sure that those were the right colors.
Accurate,
And I,
okay.
and I was curious about the color of the sign and the colors of the building.
Okay.
That's all.
Tyler, Bill? Okay, it could just be me, but applicant, come on up, let us, give us your thing.
Hello, I'm Sean Duke, and I represent Main Street Enterprises, the owners of 216 West Main. I guess I'll let you ask me the questions, and I'll do what I can to answer.
Actually, if you could give us, your presentation,
Okay.
that'd be great, and then we'll.
Okay.
Sure. I guess, and I'll speak to you, just not around you. I guess it does have some elevations. It has some pictures that you can tell just didn't come out 100% as colored
Right.
as they are in real life. I don't really think there's a. I don't know how big of a template there is for applicants to say, I don't know if there's a checkbox of 5 things or 100 things. We're, I'd say, used to having sign companies be the applicant, and they know exactly what everything looks like. They know exactly what dimensions everything are, what the signs are made of, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there's really no guesswork on our end. At this point, we don't know what are the existing signs made of, what are the future signs made of, where exactly are they going, how can we approve a package that has a rectangle or a square roughly here on a wall, because we don't actually know where it is. We're just kind of going off of a.
Well, we don't have, aside from the existing signs that are already on the building,
Right.
we're just preparing for the future when we lease spaces out.
Oh, I understand, but
Or
there'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, basically 5 existing signs on the, I think, south-facing wall.
Correct.
And then there's like the Studebaker mural, which I have no problem with whatsoever. It's technically included in this package, but it's nowhere in the package.
Well, they added that in there just as a reference point to where we want to place the Studebaker sign, which we removed.
Right.
So that, we don't have anything to do with the mural. That was there prior to the purchase of the building, and we don't.
But Anna, doesn't that actually fall under the sign package, since it is a?
It was, I think that it was included as part of the sign package,
Right.
yeah, by staff, because it had never, it had never been reviewed as part of a sign.
Right.
Yeah,
So for better
yes.
or worse, like it or not, it is part of the sign package.
It is part of the package.
And
yes.
we could say you've got to paint over it. I mean, I'm not saying that's what I'm going to say, but it is part of the sign package. It's not included in here. So when I say it's incomplete or it's misleading.
Well, we personally don't care if it goes or stays. I mean, really, that's not what we're trying to achieve right here. So
I understand. I guess I'm saying we take time out of our of our lives and out of our days to review this stuff and to come down here. Staff does the same thing, and we're not looking at a complete project. And this may be your first attempt at this location, and that's fine, but it's not our first time here, and we've got to at least let applicants know that we've got to know what we're looking at. And I guess that's to my board members, that's what I'm saying to you, is we don't have everything in front of us. If we're supposed to do our jobs, if we're supposed to give this guy as fair a hearing as anybody else, we have to have the same amount of information.
I provided whatever they told me to provide. I mean, I went and met with Heather Kinnear, and we sat down and we went over all the information that they requested from us. I mean, I'm at a loss right now of what you want from me, really. I mean,
I think what Matt's referring to is the cover sheet on Missoula Design Review Board, the street application, or the sign application. On F, it says drawing of each sign, type, copy, logo, direction to the square footage, height, lighting, letter style, material sample, color sample.
Thank you, Bill.
And we don't see any of that. That's what he's talking about.
Well, I guess like I said, I'm not really sure. She told us what she wanted us to provide, and I provided it, and
Okay.
I don't know what else to say. I paid my fee, and, can I give you what we're trying to achieve here? I mean,
Absolutely. I just want to get that out front and center.
Okay.
I want these people here to know what I'm talking about, and thank you, Bill, for pointing out, trying to clarify what I'm saying is, it is pretty cut and dry front and center, and I can't speak to what staff told you. That's why we have a representative here. I know it's not the same person. Our job here is to look at it from your point of view, and not to because what you're looking for doesn't meet the definition of the sign code. So our job here is to look at it from your point of view and see if it's a good fit. We need you to look at it from our point of view as we're not being given everything, and you may have that to present to us tonight, but it sounds like you don't.
well, I guess I disagree, because I'm giving you, all we're asking to do is relocate a sign that was already approved to a higher elevation.
Okay.
That's it.
I know, but when you open the Pandora's box of a DRB, of the Design Review Board, everything you do is scrutinized, unfortunately. So if you have previously approved things or unapproved things, whether they're conforming or not, once you step into the Design Review Board, everything is under scrutiny,
Right.
and we need details on everything under.
But I don't know, like the two open spaces that are in the lower band there, I have no idea what the tenants are going to want,
No,
as long as they fall within the 12 square foot that we're specifying.
Yes, you're absolutely right about that stuff. But the existing thing, we don't have drawings of the existing signs: type, copy, logo, direction, dimension, square footage, height, lighting, color, letter style, material sample, or color sample. Everybody else submits those things when they apply.
But if they're existing, how does it concern me?
Anna, could you speak to that, please? Even though it's an existing sign, once it's in a Design Review Board packet, it doesn't matter that it's been approved previously?
I think that probably the board would have something to say for existing, but they do have a permit.
No, I understand, but correct me if I'm wrong, we've in some cases told applicants who, because of sign clutter or whatever reason, they may have a previously permitted sign, and I can think of a couple of examples where we said, okay, we're willing to give you this, but you got to take this down, or
Oh, yes.
just because it's permitted doesn't mean it stays.
Well, I guess what I would say in our defense here is that we're trying to go through a process in order to maintain a certain continuity with the building.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, we could just say it's a free-for-all as long as we're below the 50 square foot limit for the 4 tenants that are on the building there.
And the height limit. I mean, you're asking for something.
We're saying to all the tenants, if you want a sign on the building, you have to stay below 12 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
And according to the regulations, they could put a sign up there, 50 square feet, as long as they pay the fee?
Mm-hmm.
So aren't we actually enhancing the...
That's you're absolutely right. That's the stickiness of it. I'm not saying I don't like your proposal. I'm just saying I feel it's incomplete.
Can we put a little bit, it seems like we're putting a lot of pressure on the applicant. Isn't it OPG's job to make sure that we get a complete package?
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry if I'm throwing this on you. The staff member that's here today did not review this packet, and it was somebody else, and she's not available, and that kind of stinks when that person's not here to answer those questions as to why aren't we all on the same page.
Yeah. I would like to say, from our point of view, I think that because this was a simple package, there is nothing, as he said, that there is new that they know how it's going to look at, and we could provide some photos and of what is existing now. We decided that it was appropriate. Maybe not the best packet that we have ever seen, but it was appropriate for review.
If there's, and I don't know the official way to do that, but if there's a way to put on the record that, at least from my point of view, whether it's the applicant or whether it's staff, that we really, in order to make an educated decision and in order to help the applicant, because ultimately we're basically trying to help you achieve your goal. We're just trying to go through the right channels. We need a complete packet from staff, and I guess I want it to be known to Heather or any supervisors or Anna or anybody else that you've got to let the applicant know what to turn in. You can't fill in the blanks later after we've looked at it. There's stuff you're going to present to us that we haven't seen, and whether the applicant knew to provide that or not,
But I
that's
guess
not his fault.
I'm still at a loss, and I'm not arguing with you. I'm still at a loss as what exactly you're requesting. I mean, we have 2 signs that are permitted that are on there. We don't know what the other 2 signs are going to be as long as they fall below the square foot that we're specifying. The other sign that we want to move to a higher level was also permitted, which we removed and are going to put back up. And then there's pictures of that sign in the packet. I don't know what else you would want. I mean, really.
Tyler?
I guess I'd try to speak to that just simply every time a design or a sign package comes in front of the design review board,
Right.
The intent is that we address the entire sign package. And so what I think Matt is suggesting is the definition of your entire sign package. Every piece of signage on your building can be scrutinized at this point. That's what you're at. So any change to that at all, everything is up for grabs. All of a sudden, we're talking about the entire package. So what we need is dimensions, size, everything spelled out so that it's clear as to what's existing so that we can easily.
Well, I think I did that in the packet. It says we have the heights off the floor or off the ground. We have the size of the placards that are at the entryway. We have the height off the ground for the band of brick, which is 15'5", I believe.
We have heights and we have descriptions. We don't have anything visual to look at. We don't know what the directory is going to look like. We don't know what the materials are. We don't know what the existing signs are. And because it doesn't matter that they're existing, but as Tyler said, because they're part of a sign package, everything gets looked at. And the mural, like it or not, that has to be included too. So from our point of view, or at least my point of view, I'd say 50% of the stuff is in there, and the other stuff is for us to sort of guess. You may know what you're talking about, but we don't.
But I have photographs of the existing signage. I mean, isn't that adequate?
There's photographs, but I don't know what that means. I don't know what that material is by looking at it. I don't know if it's internally illuminated. I don't know.
But if it was approved by the city, then it had to have been.
It doesn't matter. Once there's a full sign package, it doesn't matter. The Studebaker sign may have been previously permitted. It was taken down. You're looking to move it. We don't know what it looks like. There's a picture of it, but we don't know. We don't know the ins and outs, and that's what we're trying to educate you with. That staff, I feel, should have already taken care of. And I'm sorry for going around and round. If everybody's fine with moving on with this, we can. I guess I just want it out there in the open that I feel that this is not a complete packet, and I feel that staff didn't do their job. Sorry, but how can I can't approve something if I don't know what it is that I'm approving. Our job is not to look at some pictures. Our job is to actually go through it with a fine-tooth comb. That's what council asks us to do, and I can't do that.
But if I have I guess I'm I'm confused here. If I have the dimensions of the signs that are going up and I have pictures of the signs, what more do I have to provide?
Well, according to City Council, we need a drawing with type, copy, logo, direction, dimension, square footage, height, lighting, colors, letter style, material sample, and color sample.
But there's two signs that I have no idea what they're going to be.
And those, I know there's,
I can't see into the future.
Okay.
What we're trying to do here is we are trying to standardize the signage that goes on this building, so we don't get some yahoo that comes in here and wants to put a sign that's sticking out over the sidewalk. Yo Waffle wanted to have something that was protruded from the building, and we said, "Whoa, no, you can't do that." Even though the city says you can.
And I think that's just what Matt's trying to say. We want you to tell us exactly what that standard is.
And I did in the packet. I said, no, I'm just trying to make this clear. In the packet, it says we're going to designate that lighter band of brick for 4 signs that are evenly spaced across the front of the building.
Are they illuminated?
Yes, and it says so in the packet.
I mean, the hours of operation, you know, the size. We're asked to, as part of our responsibility, pass judgment on those things. So
Right.
we need to have that information to be able to say, it seems to conform, or no, it doesn't seem to conform.
and we've had, in fairness, we've had plenty of applicants who have permitted signs. That doesn't mean that they're up the way that the permit states. We have plenty of applicants with non-permitted signs. We have plenty of applicants who say they're doing one thing and it's a completely different thing, but because they're told to submit more information, we notice those things.
Okay, I just am not, I think if you guys read through the whole packet, I don't know what we've left out, actually.
Again, I'm going to defer to the the front page of the application. Please go ahead. Tell us, give us some info about what you're trying to do. I guess I wanted a really long way to get it out there that I'm not happy with, and I'm sorry that I'm not happy with how this was allowed to be presented or how this was told to be presented. And I'm not holding it on you because you're doing, I don't know what you were told and what you weren't told, but if you feel you did what you were told to do, then you did what you were supposed to do.
Okay, basically, I'll let you know what we're trying to achieve here. We had an issue with Yo Waffle earlier last summer. He wanted to put a sign out that the building owner does not want, something that's gaudy. He doesn't want something that sticks out, above the sidewalk. The sign that's allowable is not what he wants on his building. He wants to keep things small and within a reasonable size that you could see, but it just doesn't take away from the appearance of the building. So what we did is we designated that lighter band of brick. That's where the existing Studebaker sign was at. But next to it was the Cedar Creek sign, which is at the very west end of the building. Mm-hmm. We decided at that time, okay, we've already got a pre-existing sign in this position. Yo Waffle wanted his sign, he wanted it now. And we said, okay, we're going to come up with a specific size to put where you can put it. And we laid it out. I met with Heather when all this was going on. He was trying to get his permit, and we stopped it and went back and forth. And so we said, okay, we'll designate this area for 4 signs, evenly spaced, under 12 square foot or under. They have to meet all the requirements of the city, and that's where the tenant signage would go. And then we wanted to take the Studebaker sign. There's nowhere else to put it on that building that it can be seen and it doesn't look bad. You can't put it on the space between the tan and the windows because it's just too crowded. We figured, okay, let's put it up above the upper windows, which is 22 feet, I believe. I'm not sure exactly what this
28.
height is. But what I got there, 28 feet, I'm sorry. And it's roughly about the same height. We used that reference point on the mural on the other side, which we had nothing to do with. It was there when we purchased the building. We used that as kind of a gauge as to where to put, from visually speaking, if you're down the street and you look at the mural, you're also going to see the Studebaker building sign. As it was before, in In the tan area, you couldn't even really see the Studebaker sign in the summertime because the trees blocked the view. And that's also, it's an issue with the tenants, but there's really no other place to put signage on that building. So we decided to standardize, to develop a certain amount of continuity. The two signs that are located at the entryway, one is a historical register, and another one is basically just a, what do you call it? Yeah, it would just let people know who's inside the building there. But I guess in a nutshell, we're just trying to set something up so when we have the barber shop, he doesn't want to have a sign, but if he ever moves out of there, we want to be able to say, okay, if you're gone, the next tenant that moves in, this is where your sign goes, and it has to be this size. That's what we're trying to do. So.
Thank you. I know we're kind of going out of order. This might be a good time to get the staff presentation of this.
Okay. So, excuse me. So the request is for a sign package of signs as part of a building. The property is in the Central Business District and is surrounded by all Central Business District zoning and commercial properties. The subject property is a historic two-story brick building and contains 4 tenant spaces, 2 at ground level and 2 on the second. The building is listed on the National Register of Historic Places, and it is within the downtown Missoula Historic District. Currently, there is a barber shop and the Your Waffle Eatery on the ground floor level, and the Cedar Creek Spa and a vacant commercial space on the second level. There are 2 wall signs existing. The 4 square feet for Cedar Creek Spa and 10 square feet for Your Waffle, and window signs facing West Main Street. The 2 existing wall signs are located on the light color band of brick along the building facade, and the height is approximately 15.5 feet above grade. Previously, this is where the Studebaker building sign was, and this sign was removed in the spring of 2012 for the installation of the Your Waffle wall sign. There is also the historic building nameplate and the mural that is located near the top of the east building elevation. This mural was approved by the Public Arts Committee and was described as paying tribute to the historical background of the building and the heart of the gasoline alley historic area. There are no changes proposed for this facade. The applicant is proposing a comprehensive design plan to provide adequate signage for individual tenants while incorporating the building in the identification sign and existing mural. So the final package would be 4 tenant wall signs of 12 square feet maximum, all at 5.5 feet of height. Replace the Studebaker sign that would be at 28 feet of height, and the Studebaker mural, which we just mentioned, and there would also be permitted by window signs upon issuance of permit and as specified in the ordinance, not to cover more than 30% of window area. Directional incidental signs, and sandwich board signs that are permitted in the CBD as specified in the ordinance. It has been determined that the sign package is being reviewed pursuant to Section 2075-100 special signs reviewed by the Design Review Board. Staff's review of the package based on criteria derived from the intent and purposes of Chapter 2075 has resulted in the following conclusions: that public safety will not be compromised by the proposed signs, life, health, property, and the public welfare will not be imperiled if the sign package is approved with recommended conditions. The use of the premises is consistent with the character of the area as designated in adopted city plans and policies. The sign package with recommended conditions is in harmony with the surrounding area and other signage in this area of downtown. The sign package is representative of a comprehensive design plan to provide adequate signage for the individual tenants. And as recommended with conditions, is appropriate in scale and design in regards to the parcel and structure site and the location of the site in relation to other commercially signed businesses. The sign package is representative of a comprehensive design plan to provide adequate signage for the individual tenants while incorporating the building identification sign. And the sign package will not give these businesses an unfair identification or advertising advantage if approved with the recommended conditions. In summary, the proposed sign package as conditioned meets the overall intent and purpose of Missoula City Zoning Ordinance. There were no adverse comments from the building, fire, police, or engineering departments. And there was one comment from the Historic Preservation Committee, and it reads as follows. The Studebaker building is listed individually in the National Register of Historic Places. I have attached the form nomination for your information. As proposed, the signage is reversible. I would suggest this as a condition. Anchors for the signs shall be into the mortar and not into the brick, as damaging the brick is not reversible. And generally speaking, internally illuminated signs are not the historic pattern. I would suggest that the new Studebaker building sign be externally lit. And that is signed by Philip Macklin, the Historic Preservation Officer. The staff's recommended motion is that the Missoula Design Review approve the request for a sign package by Mr. Sean Duke for the Studebaker building located at 216 West Main Street based on the finding of fact and testimony heard at the public hearing and subject to 2 recommended conditions of approval, which are that no signage shall be modified without approval of a sign permit by the Missoula Office of Planning and Grants, and no signage shall be added without resubmittal of an application to and approval from the Missoula Design Review Board. And 2, that any applicable electrical building and sign permits shall be obtained prior to installation of the signs. That is my report.
Thank you, Anna.
I have a question for the applicant. The historic comments on, what do you say about the anchoring into mortar versus brick, and also what do you say to his illumination comment?
The mortar's not a problem, and it's already externally illuminated, so the existing sign was. So, and we're going to put it back up exactly the way it was.
How about for the tenant signs? I know that they're, at least the Yo Waffles, internally illuminated. And
Both of them are. The Cedar Creek is a neon type lettering sign, and the Yo Waffle sign is a box type sign that
Right.
says, So.
Although, I mean, the comment from Philip doesn't just talk about the Studebaker sign; it's talking about the tenant signs too. So, what do you?
Well, I mean, I understand his concern over that. I guess, again, these are pre-existing signs, and I don't know. I can't necessarily go and tell the tenants to take down their signs because. Yeah.
I don't mean to tell you what to do, but you actually can.
Do you want me to?
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm following up on Ms. Comer's question.
Yeah. I mean, I have no problem. The Studebaker sign is what it is. It's an aluminum lettered sign, and it was externally lit, and that's the way we're going to put it back up.
And you're okay with them putting it in the mortar?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's how I do it anyway. So,
Okay,
I mean,
perfect.
yeah.
Are there any questions of staff at this point?
Actually, and I'm wondering, would these signs allow future tenants, should the lease tenants change, would allow them to simply replace the graphics in the existing sign without application of a sign permit?
Yes, if they meet the location and the maximum size, maximum height, they would be given a permit. Yeah, they would be within the package.
I have a question. They say it, so you say it's silver letters on the sign.
Yes.
And the photograph gives me a better understanding of the colors. That band across the bottom, is that how it's lit? Or
There's a bulb behind it, mounted behind it, but those, the lettering is actually attached to that lower band.
yeah.
So
Is that where the
it's
light
kind of a
is?
base for everything, and the light is behind it.
Oh, it's behind
Yeah,
that
yeah,
band.
yeah. It doesn't flash up to it.
It flashed. Oh, it shines out.
Right, or up. You know,
Up.
it's not very. It's not a very big bulb. I mean, it's. You know,
I know I've seen it.
yeah. It's actually most of the time you don't even notice it's there. It's pretty hard to read the lettering. You know, it's kind of an Art Deco.
Yeah, I
type
like
of- yeah.
the sign. So,
Just a comment, I have no issue with the Studebaker sign being moved or, the Cedar Creek sign and the illumination. I guess just to the internal illumination on the Yo Waffle sign and the possible new tenant signs. That's the only thing I kind of have an issue with, but at the same time, I understand that they're businesses and they need to be seen, so I don't know, we kind of already discussed that, but if you have anything else to say. But the Studebaker sign, I don't have any issue with.
Okay. We could. Are there any recommendations for when the signage can be lit? I mean, are there hours when we need to have them shut them off to where they don't? I mean, is that?
I can't speak to historic preservation. Is there anybody on the board or staff that can?
We have never had any a recommendation like that for the CBD.
Okay.
The signs normally remain lit until
Something we do a lot, and the applicant should know this, we do a lot of these when whether there's a recommendation or it might be precedent setting or whatever, we take a look at the surrounding businesses, and sometimes the applicant does that for us. Does anybody have any information, I guess, to offer about surrounding businesses, which may or may not be historical places, but it's, there's comparison. Internally lit signs, external neon signs.
Well, I know, like Yo Waffle, for example, he did a thorough investigation of what was around him.
Okay.
And he actually turned in a couple of designs that were turned down by the owner of the building. Again, the owner is very concerned about keeping a certain aesthetic appeal to the building. Yo Waffle, again, this is kind of what started the whole thing. We didn't want to get carried away without putting some kind of guidelines for somebody, because there were never any, when this building was renovated about 10 years ago, they did not specify anything about signage, and so it was kind of a free-for-all there for a minute, and we decided we better get a handle on it before it got out of line. So.
Seems like it might be out of character, out of precedent to be limiting what those tenants can do if they have to go. He got a permit for that sign, that Yo Waffle sign, is what you're saying?
Yes, yeah, it is a permitted sign.
So if that's
It
the
is a
only-
legal sign, meets every
Yeah.
point in the ordinance, yes.
Even if we don't feel it necessarily goes with the historic character of the building, it doesn't seem like there's really much we can do about that if he's got a permit.
And I agree to a point. I guess I'm curious when it comes to just a regular, typical sign permit, since it's on a building that, and I want to make sure, is it that's on the National Register of Historic Places? Does OPG, are there other requirements that need to be met for just a standard sign permit?
There is nothing in the ordinance that allow us to treat them differently.
Really? Okay.
We normally, what we do is we refer them to the historic preservation officer for advice, and hope that in a conversation the best is going to happen. But there is no authority for us to say no, you cannot have this sign.
And
Okay.
there's two different standards: the National Register of Historic Places, and maybe Bill knows more, and then the National Historic Society there's a higher standard if you're building. I don't think Historic Places has as high of a standard to qualify.
Well, it's on a
right?
case-by-case basis,
Okay.
and there has to be a historical precedent to it. And my understanding is that The design review board can make exceptions in the case of historical buildings and interpretation of sign appropriateness.
Do you happen to know or have any idea if the historical officer was consulted on that sign permit or on the waffle? I'm just trying to. I want to agree with Sheena, so I'm just trying to get as much info.
I am sorry, no, I do not know.
I didn't think
No,
so, but
I do not know.
it's a question worth asking. Okay, other questions from the board?
I guess just my comment is the future tenants, it just seems like y'all have done such a nice job on the signage in the past, be it the Studebaker sign or the Cedar Creek sign, and with that Yo Waffle sign being a little bit of an exception, that maybe the precedent could be set that that's more in keeping with the historic.
Well, I agree completely.
Like the
I mean,
owners
that's,
feel.
that's kind of our intention, if Yo Waffle moves out of there at some point, we then can control by doing this what goes on there. I mean, obviously, if they dig deep, if there's no way for the city to say, okay, you have to follow historical guidelines, then they might be able to, go past that. But we'd like to head it off if we can and say we would prefer that you come up with a signage that kind of keeps in tune with what we already have going here. So, I mean, that's our intention. We don't, like I said, we were doing battle with him all summer trying to get him to bring things down a little bit, and that's kind of where this whole thing started. So, just because we don't want to, that if the barber shop, if he leaves and somebody else moves in there, and, if they wanted a really big sign, if we didn't have anything in place to prevent that, then I don't know what we would do. I mean, really,
How would you feel about a future limitation on the internal illumination, those boxes?
I would probably refer them to what we have, what the historical officer recommended in here. Had we known that before the old Waffle did his thing, we may have been able to actually curb that off and say, hey, you have to follow this just because of the nature of the building. But we really didn't have anything to base anything on, as far as saying you can't do this. The only thing we could do is say, you got to bring the size down. Again, he wanted to go perpendicular to the building, and we were like, no way, because that just doesn't fit with that thing, So.
I do have a question, excuse me, and maybe I'm just not seeing it. On your application, it talks about there will be a designated area basically for the 4 tenant signs because, well, for the 2 future signs or Cedar Creek or Yo Waffle, they could replace their signs, et cetera, et cetera. I know it's hand-drawn on a picture, but where exactly are those?
I think on the wording, I believe I noted that it was to be centered off the center window above on all 4 spaces. That's how we had it drawn.
And maybe I'm just not seeing it. That's why I'm sorry.
I may have missed that, but I'm pretty sure I tried to specify the location because we did center it off of on the drawing or off of those windows. Cedar Creek it was pre-existing. It was already off to the left a little bit, but that is what our intention is, just for balance. But as you can see with that tree there, the other 2 probably aren't going to have much of a visibility anyway. So.
I'm not seeing it. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh no, I see again. I see in the drawing, and I'm beating a dead horse here.
Okay.
But it's. I know what your intent is, absolutely. Yeah. But it's. And I don't know from a permitting point if, let's say we approve as is, and barbershop decides he wants it, and then he's got to go to OPG and say I want my sign, and it's got to conform to this. From a permitting standpoint, can you look at this and know exactly where that sign's supposed to fall?
I think that looking at the drawing that they would have to provide for the permit, we could say that it's meeting or not meeting.
It meets the intent.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. So that's close enough.
One thing that might help also is in the thing that we wrote up, I know that I mentioned that the building's owner has to approve all signage
Okay.
The tenant.
Good.
And he's not going to go for anything that's not in balance.
Okay.
Trust me. He's-
As long as he is the owner.
Correct,
Yeah.
But if, I mean, I would assume that if somebody else buys the building, that's their option to make the changes and meet with you guys again if they wish to, right?
But that's a precedent we're setting here.
Right, okay. Understandable, I mean, I get that.
I guess my other question, as far as I guess missing information, and a directory sign still counts as a sign, correct? Or
No, directional signs are signs that do not require a permit.
okay,
Yeah.
would excuse me, if the applicant were to come here and just not tell us about a directional sign, and they got a sign package, could they then put one up without needing to consult with us or permitting or anything like that?
Yes, because it is. The way that because it is in the in our report that they would be directional incidental signs would be approved. Not approved, but permitted as specified in the ordinance.
Okay.
So unless the board wants to get rid of that
Okay.
and eliminate that, yeah.
And the only, so it might be moot. The only reason I bring that up is I have no idea what that directional sign looks like, and I know on the building about where it's going to go, but unless you guys have something different in your packets, we don't know what it looks like, where it's going. I don't know if you guys know what it looks like.
No, we don't.
So how are we supposed to approve it?
I don't know.
Okay. Anybody else, please?
Well, I was going to make a motion that we do approve, but I was going to add a condition about no future signs on the building would have an internal illumination, if that language is the proper language, but due to the historic character of the building. Lighted is okay, but not the internal illumination.
Like a box type light, okay.
Yeah, I was going to make that condition approval.
Neon lettering and stuff is okay.
I think that's okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that's so. My motion would just limit just the boxes, if that would be acceptable, I'd like to make that motion.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion?
I would like to amend the motion, so.
I'm trying to remember how we do this.
Bill, should you want to discuss what your amendment is?
Oh, come on. Bill, you want to tell Sheena what you want to do to amend
What do
it
you
so
wanna
she
do?
likes it?
There's a provision in the sign ordinance that allows the second floor tenants to add 4 square foot signs to the external part of the building. I would ask that the sign package be limit that to the signage and the direction to the upstairs tenants be located on the directory, so we don't see 4 additional 4 square foot signs go above those second floor windows and clutter up this building. It was a beautiful job to restore this building, put the awnings in. I thought Cedar Creek did a nice job, tasteful job with the sign, and Yo Waffles is definitely pushing the envelope here. Even the historical officer made the comment that this is not historically appropriate sign for this building. It'd be nice to see an alternative presented to be able to pick from, because I'd sure like to see something different there, something more in keeping with the Studebaker building sign. I have no problems. Love to see that sign go up above where you're proposing and be lit. That could even be a 24-hour sign, because if memory serves me right, that was very low light level. It provides the building. You could put it on a light sensor and have it turned off in the day and on at night, but at very low levels, to simply identify what the building is. But the business signs definitely, I feel, need to be run only during hours of business operation. And then that caveat about the second floor signs not come back and show up in the form of 4 additional signs upstairs.
We're totally for that. we only want the 4 signs in that band, and then anything else that has to, say, serve as a directory for the 2 spaces upstairs or what's on what floor is to be on that, one of those placards that's alongside the building. That's all we want. We don't even want anything in the windows, to be honest with you, but the city, is recommended that we need to allow to have sandwich boards and things like that, but, I mean, that's,
To try to keep to Roberts, we have to keep, since we have a motion, we have a second, we have to keep discussion over here. Since it's Sheena's motion, you can adapt, you can change, you can offer an amendment.
Based on your comments, I think I would amend my motion that it would also limit, we would also limit no new tenant signs other than being listed on the directory.
Or the two
Does that work?
proposed in the packet, correct? The 2
Yeah,
future.
no more than 4
Right.
as proposed in the packet.
Okay. So further discussion.
I think that goes without having to make a condition, just simply because now
Oh, yeah,
that
you're
the
right.
Studebaker sign is above 22 feet, anything that changes in this sign package then has to come in front of us.
Actually,
correct?
Tyler, you're absolutely right. Yeah. I mean, we can put that in there just to as redundancy, and this is a bureaucracy. So
Well, and that might serve to future boards if it comes up. They can see our intent.
absolutely, they can see our intent. So I've got no problem leaving that in there. We have a motion. We have a second. Further discussion, questions?
I agree with the exceptions to the motion.
All right. If there is no more, thank you. If there are no more discussions or questions, it's time for a roll call vote, please.
Oh,
Tyler.
Can we clarify exactly what we're voting on?
Sheena, would you mind restating your motion?
I'll do my best. I was going to approve the submission with the exceptions of no future internally illuminated box signs out of character with the historic nature of the building, and no more than 4 of the tenant signs to be allowed.
Okay, thank you. That works?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay. Sheena,
Yes.
Dennis Lippert,
yes.
Bill Narrison,
Yes.
Tyler Hansen,
Yes.
Matt Loomis.
I'm going to abstain.
Okay. The motion passes.
All right. Thank you to the applicant. And just a side note, it wasn't really worth, putting it in here, sandwich boards, window signs, things like that. That's totally allowed in the sign code. But of course, the building owner can put in harsher or more stringent lease requirements. I mean, if it's the building owner's prerogative, if you say, I don't want to allow sandwich boards, that's part of the lease. I don't want to allow window signs, that's part of the lease. It's my understanding that it's kind of his prerogative if he wants to do that.
Okay.
Obviously, we don't want to see too much clutter. We'd like to keep it under, I think it's 30% of window space covered with window signs. But you can always just make that a condition of the lease. And
Right. And I believe he will. I mean, this, again, it's
Future
the things
leases
in
at least.
motion that
Yeah.
he wants to curb off next time we have a new tenant, so.
And I do appreciate you putting up with us. I don't know if you're a first timer here or not.
I am a first timer.
all
Thanks
right.
for putting up with me. Okay.
You did fine. And maybe it's that we haven't met in 4 months. We're a little out of tune here. And I think everybody else understood the gist of what you were trying to do. And it's one of those things where really what we're debating, the only reason we're here is because the Studebaker sign is going so high. And I don't think any of us had a problem with that, to be honest. It's just tying up all the loose ends and everything else. I personally like the mural. I know you guys could go either way. Let's keep it. Technically, it's part of your building, things along those lines. So I like what you're trying to do. I think it's, as long as you can see through the trees, I think it's going to look pretty classy. So,
Yeah.
except for that one illuminated sign. But
Yeah. Well, and again, if Yo Waffle goes, we'll get it
Then
back
it'll
to the
revert to
historical.
this. Yeah.
So.
And I totally understand. They went through the process. They got a permitted sign. So we really shouldn't tell them, hey, you already spent money on the sign. You need to change it now. So they should be able to leave it as it is.
Okay.
Well, and I'd suggest in the future, when you have to address the issue of signage in a project like this, you're not going to make the sign. You'll have somebody make it for you.
Right.
And they have a responsibility to provide you the information
Yeah.
to incorporate into an application like this.
Right.
So-
I guess the only thing I would say to this is we kind of looked at it as we weren't purchasing a sign, we were just moving one that we already had to another location, and we couldn't do it without special permit. And, that's basically all we were doing, and in the process, we decided to, okay, we'll designate some other areas so we can keep everything balanced, and that's,
Yeah, no, I understand
Yeah,
where you're coming
yeah.
from.
so, and believe me, I'd much rather have Dave in here doing the sign stuff than myself, but,
Well, and we are the Board of Special Exceptions.
yeah. What's that?
We're the Board of Special
Okay.
Exceptions.
Okay.
Nothing
Everybody's-
routine or
Okay.
procedural here. It's
Right.
always something other than the norm.
And it's never the two same things at
No,
all.
and we can get everything from a napkin to the people making the sign with the full-blown, 8 by 10 glossies, a couple dozen in a row. So it
Okay.
runs the full gamut.
Sorry if I caused any confusion, but,
No, not at all. No, thank you very much.
Okay, guys, thanks. Appreciate it.
That concludes our public hearing for the evening. Is there any old business to speak of?
The staff doesn't have any business.
Do you happen to know, and I know you're just filling in, do you know anything on, we approved First Interstate Bank on East Front Street, and I know their project still isn't finished. They have a, you don't know anything about that, do you?
No, I'm
Okay.
sorry, I don't.
All right, I'll
No.
follow up with Heather.
No.
Any new business to speak of? No? No soccer or? No? Okay.
Well, just one command, that's to staff, to avoid something like this, kind of an unprepared package. If we had maybe 2 or 3 really, really top-notch, well-prepared sign submittals to show applicants when they come in and request and ask for information on how to go about, it'd sure be nice to have working examples to be able to show them how to do it.
Yeah, that is a good idea. Thanks. Yeah, we'll try. Yeah, I think that part of the problem is, normally for the sign packages, as you said, you mentioned, they are brought in by sign professionals. And when somebody, a citizen comes, it is hard to put them at the same level or to require the same quality of exhibits that we would require for somebody who does this for a living. So,
Yeah, because
and I think
we got corporate franchise and we got, Joe's coffee stop on the corner.
exactly, it's yes.
And everything
so
in between.
I think that was, the decision was to accept this, and as it came, yeah. So,
Okay.
I guess my biggest complaint was just the color on that.
Running out of blue in the printer.
yes,
Yeah, but anyway.
But we got through it. Thank you, everybody. Additional comments from board members? Okay, adjourned. We'll see you possibly December or in the new year.
Well, if in the new year, have a most excellent Christmas and a happy new year. You made the comment in your email that you may not be here in the most unfortunate circumstance. I'd have to stand in for you. I need a crib sheet, so I just brought that more for myself.